opening session of 2025, we have Professor Anand Ranganathan, scientist, SCMM, and political commentator, and Professor Shailja Singh, scientist, SCMM, in conversation. You are fired. Science in the times of AI.
We are both from JNU, so you want to sit on the left or on the right? Hi, good evening everyone. What an absolute pleasure. Not an honor, because it's never an honor to come back to the family, but an absolute pleasure to be back at PLF, and I speak for Shailja as well. Today's session, please don't mistake us for impersonation of Donald Trump, who says this, you know, like, you're fired. But we thought it's an important topic to speak on. Hence, we've kept this, and we'll come to I've just written something that we can start off with. So, I think the truth that we are grappling with is that artificial intelligence is the way it is perceived by majority of the population. They still think it's not science that is affected, but mostly media and journalism. And they're true. AI is reshaping journalism by enhancing efficiency, expanding capabilities, and posing new challenges. AI tools streamline tasks like data analysis, fact-checking, and content generation. Automated systems can process vast data sets to uncover trends or verify information, enabling journalists to focus on in-depth reporting. For instance, AI-driven algorithms analyze social media for real-time news updates, while natural language processing tools generate basic reports on sports or financial events, freeing reporters for investigative work. Artificial intelligence, in a way, then democratizes journalism by enabling smaller newsrooms to leverage advanced tools, leveling the playing field. It also enhances audience engagement through personalized content delivery. Ultimately, AI's transformative potential in journalism hinges on ethical implementation, balancing efficiency with accuracy, and preserving the human judgment that defines impactful storytelling. I just requested ChatGTP to write a paragraph on the impact of AI on journalism, and this is what it wrote. But let me now begin by saying that there is a name that resonates like a quiet storm in Indian politics. She arrived in India in 1968, not chasing power but love, marrying the heir of a dynasty. And when tragedy struck in 1991, leaving her widowed, she could have fled to Italy. Instead, she embraced India, reviving a crumbling Congress in 1998. With her accented Hindi, she rallied the faithful from Amethi to India's heartlands, becoming the party's longest-serving president. She was the architect of UPA's 2004 and 2009 victories. She stunned all by declining the Prime Minister's chair, a sacrifice that etched her name in history. Her glory lies not in the titles but in her resolve, a foreigner who became the keeper of India's dreams. Under her shadow, The UPA scripted transformative laws, giving millions work, empowering the common man, ensuring no one starves. She pushed for women's reservations and championed non-violence globally. Critics may point to controversies, but her legacy, resilience, sacrifice, and social justice stands tall. She is not just a leader, she is India's enduring conscience. She is the great Sonia Gandhi. Then I asked ChatGTP to write a paragraph on Sonia Gandhi in the style of Rajdeep Sardesai. This is exactly, I'm just quoting verbatim. So this is the stage we are at. Suffice it to say, Shailja, that journalism as we know it, books as we know they are written, the style in which the books as we know they are written, are going to be written by Grok or ChatGTP or Perplexity or any of these artificial intelligence. And journalists and writers, they haven't grappled with this issue right now. Still that human ego persists, that I am going to write a book. Right now the fact is, as Turing said, the day you are not able to distinguish between the answer given by a human versus an answer given by a computer, that day is the dawn of artificial intelligence. That day is here. All of you thought this was written by Rajdeep Sardesai. It might still be. I think unki atma ghus gayi hai chat GTP mein, I don't know. But this is how the future is going to be as far as books, literature, sociology, political science, everything is concerned. What is the death knell and what should worry the other aspect of human usage of intelligence, if I may put it, is science. And we want to discuss this in the next half an hour, and we'll throw it open to the floor, is because, believe it or not, it is not being discussed in the normal discourse at all. And this is the scariest part, and none of this is hyperbole at all. When I say you are fired, I honestly do not know whether we would be as scientists employable in 5 or 10 years' time. Shailja, would you like to speak a couple of minutes on why this could be the truth?
Yeah, but at the same time, as I say that, of course, as a scientist, I never feel that we will be fired anytime because of our creative thinking, innovation, and which I don't think AI can match. Still, AI is driven by us. But at the same time, I would like to point out that in collaboration with artificial intelligence, the science has progressed, which we were doing in 20 years, now we can do in 1 year. So the pace has really been very fast now. And at the same time, what I can feel that it was just an example, I work on vaccine. We work on vaccine against malaria. And the traditional way, last 18 years in my research career, I was working to identify a new antigen one by one, which is a good one to develop as a malaria vaccine antigen. And suddenly this artificial intelligence based AlphaFold protein structure prediction came. And because that was a very important step in malaria vaccine development, that you need to know the structure of a protein, because the antibody which you want to develop, that will be developed again that structure. So I was also very much interested to do that kind of implementation of AI in our research. And in that way, what I found in the literature, as well as I discussed with many companies who are doing the using the artificial intelligence to identify the antigen, and what I could see, whatever they are giving us as a clue or the final candidate, when I am testing in a real term, it's not working. So that means still we are missing something. That intelligence is missing something. So better to, meaning that's what I want to say, that the critical thinking and the innovation what we can bring in science as a scientist, all of us, whoever are in the field, I think it's still not possible with the artificial intelligence.
Okay, this might come across as strange, but deja vu. I feel like this is a TV panel because I'm disagreeing with her right now. Can we have the first slide, please? Thank you. Or the second slide. Yeah.
The timeline, I agreed.
Yes. So let me be rhetorical, Shailja, to what you say. In a rather grandiose fashion that, look, nobody is taking away our job, and I hope you're not saying it because we are from JNU and nobody can fire us except the president, that too after a legal tangle, you know. But if I were to ask you, what actually is your job? If you were to describe in one sentence, what is it that you are supposed to do?
To discover a novel medicine or vaccine against the pathogen I'm working on.
Correct. So what if I were to tell you that exactly what your job description is can be done by AI?
No.
Hey, that's our slide number 3. What are you saying?
Meaning
ये तो
it
यहाँ
can
जज्बात बदल दी है तो we had discussed everything before that.
Artificial intelligence can assist us to identify and discover in a faster pace, but it cannot just discover something for me. That's what is my. You are talking about the paper which has just come, so please describe that, and then I have my counter argument.
Okay, right. Before I come to that, that's on slide 3. Let's just give you an idea of, well, first of all, I think when we were discussing kind of new ideas or suggestions to throw up during this discussion, we just thought, I think it's important for at least scientists to realize, and also a lot of people who are writers, that let's perhaps stop calling it artificial intelligence, because what it creates in the mind of anyone who's using it kind of dehumanizes, almost robotic throwing up of an answer by a computer. Essentially what it is doing is, we as humans should be proud of AI, because this is exactly what 2000 years of human ingenuity has led us to. This is what millions of books written by humans, millions of ideas generated by humans have led to this pool, out of which the AI, the computer, is able to fish out the correct answer. So it is not artificial intelligence, it is human intelligence, or humanity's intelligence, let's put it that way.
Or community intelligence.
Community intelligence. We were waiting for this juncture, things that were thought of or written in the style 1600 years ago, 1500 years ago, are being regurgitated right now. As a human being, I'm proud of this. So I'm not scared of AI. I'm just saying I should be scared of losing my job. But that's also all right, because that is what it is leading to. We just have to find something to do. If, for example, and you can't reinvent or the turning of the wheel out here. If you remember, for just a couple of examples before I come to this, 100 years ago, the harvesting for any crop was done by 2,000 farmers, workers, laborers. Right now, one combine harvester does their job in a much more better and efficient manner. And you can't tell the person who's operating the combine harvester, maybe robotically, to not use the combine harvester, but go back to 2,000 people doing the same job. It's the same as making a car. You can't go back to saying that, look, let's start assembling the car, where you have, like Gerald Ford assembly line, 5,000 workers assembling a car. Right now, there is 0 worker assembling a car. Everyone's a robot. You can't go back to that. So likewise, you won't be able to tell in 10 years' time, I want humans to write this. I want real human mind to write this. I want a human to think of this idea. I want a human to come up with a molecule, not AI. Though AI is humanity's gift, combined our gift. If you look at, for example, the timelines of drug discovery, that is what is very important for not just scientists, but as the phrase goes, from bench to bedside. You don't want to take 20 years for discovering, having an idea, discovering a drug, developing that whole thing, and then doing the clinical trials, and then bringing that drug to market. More than 20 years, because the patent timeline itself is 20 years. So for a start, you need to, bring it down. And you look at, for example, in single shot vaccine in Japan, the traditional, which is in saffron, and the AI assisted timeline is in blue. And you can see in every aspect, you look at the antibiotics, I mean, it's down by almost 10 years, which is remarkable. This is what, for example, if you were to tell a company that you were able to bring a new drug in market in 10 years' time, using billions of dollars, I am going to bring that same drug or a new drug in half a year. Which company is going to refuse it? You cannot undo what AI is doing right now, much as many people's egos would be hurt because they think somehow that this is artificial intelligence. No, this is millions of humans have combined to give you this gift. That's how I see it. You look at, for example, Shailja, AlphaFold structures. Now, last year, AlphaFold got the Nobel Prize. It's just unbelievable the speed with which you are able to solve a problem that scientists thought was unsolvable, which was protein folding. For 60 years, people were battling with how do proteins fold. Unless you solve the crystal structure of a protein, there was very little by way of probability or certainty that you could come to a structure of a protein. There were methods available, and our own great Indian genius G.N. Ramachandran contributed to that by looking at the phi-psi fold of the way the amino acids were strung together in a protein. He said you could actually plot a graph, and you can put or pigeonhole the structures into whether they are forming secondary structure elements. But those were rough guides. Out here, you give a string of amino acids to AlphaFold, and it regurgitates out the structure within a minute. And it tells you the probability of its correctness. If it's blue, dark blue is 95% certain, and so on and so forth. This is something, Shailja, that has revolutionized the way we look at medicine. If we look at the second slide, please. And here I want to come to you, because this is exactly what you said when I asked you, what is your job? Would you like to comment on, some of the things out here? For example, you have the diseases that are here. And Shailja, you already have drugs that are in clinical trials.
Yes, so
that
that's
AI.
what I talked about, as previously you said, the AlphaFold. So still the AlphaFold, whatever it gives the structure, it's not that it is only 98% confidence. Still the 2% is missing. As well as there are some limitation, though we will develop in future AlphaFold 3, AlphaFold 4, those versions are going to come, and that will give you one protein you can get the structure. What about if the multiple monomers of the proteins are making a complex structure? Still the AlphaFold has no answer to it. And of course, that AlphaFold server, which is giving you the structure of a protein, is helping you out, assisting us. As a scientist, I can say the AI is assisting us to identify a compound which might be targeting that protein being analyzed by the AlphaFold. And the example over here in this slide, the first ever compound being identified through the AI assisted platform, and that is now in phase 1 or phase 1 clinical trial. phase 1 clinical trial and one cancer drug is in phase 2. That means, okay, in 20 years time, if a scientist is working to identify one compound, what is the target and all, in 1.5 years time point, maybe this has given you the clue. Ultimately, now it is in the validation phase 1 or phase 2 clinical trial it's going on. Again, I want to point it out that yes, this tool has been generated from the knowledge we generated. As a scientist, when we discovered, we innovated, and we put the literature, we put the all information, and AI is what? Doing what? It is digging that information and giving you in a platform. And that platform you are using, but still the missing link is the thinking, and some kind in scientists we also has intuition. So for example, we do know that okay, this kind of a thing, if I'm using a model like mouse model, a zebrafish model, or any per se any model to test my drug, that is also maybe that integration is not that still we are not that at par to use the AI platform, but of course there are some examples. Let's see, it's still not in phase 3 or the final product. It's only phase 1 and phase 2. So yes, we are also waiting. What would be the outcome?
You know, I'm reminded of that wonderful movie called Naya Daur. I don't know how many, there are a lot of Gen Z out here, but Naya Daur was a beautiful film, I think, Dilip Kumar, and it was a battle of man versus machine. And there, because men would not, or people wouldn't have watched it had machine won. So it was Dilip Kumar who won against the motor. But ultimately, you know, as human history has shown, it is a battle that humans can't win. With chess, for example, right now, we are in many, and a lot of people are saying this, not very openly, but I read a very revealing article recently where they said that the day Kasparov was defeated by, I think, Deep Blue 25 years ago, that day ended the excitement that chess brought to humans. Once you know that you cannot beat a computer, then yes, you can compete with yourself, but you know there is somebody who can always beat you. And that is something that somehow scares humans. But as Shailja very rightly put it, AlphaFold would not have been possible had humans over the last 60 years not created a database of 120,000 structures that they solved individually,
Yes.
spending years in crystallizing them or solving through NMR their solution structure. And every 5 years, no wonder scientists who did it used to get the Nobel Prize, because it was something that was considered so difficult. I mean, very famous, of course, we would remember Venki Ramakrishnan, who got the Nobel Prize for the structure of ribosome, 2009, I think. So, in many ways, you know, when you say where is the ingenuity, one can be harsh, but the truth is there was no ingenuity in it. He crystallized it, of course, he solved it. He took about 15 years to solve that structure, and he put it in the database.
Yes.
And that was one of the 60,000 structures in the PDB protein database bank. And the AlphaFold uses the secondary structure elements that come out of that database to predict the proteins that we feed it with the amino acid sequence. So AlphaFold wouldn't have been possible without the database that humans created. And I think scientists realize it, but a lot of people who are not in science don't. I mean, a lot of companies right now, including some Indian ones, are suing ChatGPT for accusing ChatGPT of using their content. I think ANI is one example, it's in quotes. A couple of American companies are there. So ChatGPT is fighting, saying, for example, I mean the style of, one Indian journalist that I used, that person can sue ChatGPT that you're using my style. You know, like you have Amitabh Bachchan as a copyright on his voice. So Rajdeep Sardesai has a copyright on his journalism. I don't know whether that copyright is worth anything, but the fact of the matter is that we must realize that this is a gift that we have given ourselves. AI is not an anniversary, so there, Shailja, I agree with you. Where I disagree with you is the next slide, please. Can we have the next slide? Yeah. So here are two examples which completely disprove my great colleague Shailja Singh in what she was saying. And I would love to have her views on it. Let me just give you, so that's why I asked her a rhetoric question. I'm very cruel and disgusting at times. I said, what's your job? She said, my job is to discover drugs. So 2 weeks ago, a paper appeared in one of the most prestigious scientific journals, Cell, where scientists just took 5 or 6 elements, normal elements, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, and they used deep learning or machine learning to combine them.
Yes.
They got 41 million combinations. 41 million combinations. Out of that, 20 of them were potent inhibitors of the hospital bacterial infection MRSA, staph infection, staph aureus infection, which actually carries a very high mortality rate. In India, it is an absolute epidemic as well. People don't realize it, but many people, it's bad enough being infected and diseased. You go to a hospital, you get a hospital infection, and that's the MRSA. And it's multiple drug resistant as well, so that is, another worry that is loaded on to already worrisome and debilitating disease. Out of those 20, they constructed 7, physically constructed 7 molecules. And out of those 7, 3 were the most potent antibiotic known to man against MRSA. Everything done by AI. Shailja, over to you.
Yes.
Is our job safe? I ask again.
So as I said, of course, it's assisting us to be in a faster pace to identify. And from the element, making a drug and that too working for such a crucial pathogens which are opportunistic in nature and creating a lot many issues. It's a remarkable thing. So I don't disagree in that way. But I have like one more question which is coming to you, Anand, now. For example, as you said, okay, the knowledge which we generated, that has given us the platform of artificial intelligence, and using that intelligence, we are now going back again with the elements, carbon, sulfur, and other organic chemical moieties, and designing a drug. What if, by any spurious motive, somebody is contaminating the data sets? What if, in case of medical and scientific discovery related to human diseases, if at all that data sets, whatever is there, is heavily contaminated by any of us, any scientist, when they get just crazy, they are going to contaminate. What will happen that time?
No, that's a great question. I curse you for asking it. Because that again, so this is like a boxing match right now going here. Funny I mentioned Rajdeep Sardesai. But the simple answer to that is that this is a real and present danger. To spike the database that AI is using, especially as far as science is concerned. See, you can spike the database that journalists use. So you can spike the database with spurious fake narrative articles. Oh, I'm sorry, did I mention some journalist who does that all the time? Comes naturally. And you come up with the wrong answer. But if that happens in science, that's like as destructive as one can be. And that is a real danger. And I've read a few articles, Shailja, where there are governments of non-democratic regimes that are actively having people spike up databases for that. I mean, can you imagine? So this is something going forward. I don't have an answer how to solve that, because that is
Because
a death knell for...
still we are missing on regulations.
Yeah.
For example, we have to regulate the data sets. Even if we want to use AI in a longer term, we have to really save our data sets specifically towards medical use data sets.
Okay. But here is Gloria, not the bell this time, but using the... Oh, there is a bell also? Oh my God, it's a double whammy. It's like, it's 25% tariffs, then 25 on top of that. The real Trump is here. AI doesn't work, honestly. No, but, then you see one question leads to another.
Yes.
There you use the word, R word again, regulation. And you know what happens when anybody wants to regulate anything. I mean, I can almost see us regulating, dictating that this is the data set that is the right data set. This is the data set that has been fed by Indian scientists, so let's not trust this as much. It happens. I mean, we've seen. There are journals that regularly reject science from India because they say we can't trust you. Whatever the reason may be. So you are going to have multiple data sets. As a result, you're going to have multiple answers and you will end up trusting no one. How do you go about then? I mean, that's like AI gone too soon.
Yeah, so that's what the concern is, that totally dependence on artificial intelligence for drug discovery, vaccine discovery, and thinking there will be a virtual lab, virtual scientists, robotic scientists. So no, everything is coming, whatever is existing. So where is the new creativity and innovation and your own experience? That's what I'm going back to my first point. Yes, it is just, it can assist us but not replace us.
But when you talked about having a lab like that, in fact, I would like you to just type the word Leela on
Very
Google.
scary, yeah.
There is a lab that has no humans at all. And it's just got a funding of $500 million. It's called Leela. And it's got robots working instead of students. And it's got AI instead of the supervisor. And it's already dreamt up an assembly line of anti-cancer molecules and monoclonal antibodies. So what you've said is possibly going to come true. The final question before we throw it open to the floor is also the fact that ultimately you are speeding up things, but then the roadblock comes. Now AI as yet does not know how to solve that roadblock. What do I mean by that? For example, you can come up with a drug that is very active. Within 6 months you can discover it. AI took a week to come up out of 41 million combinations, these 3 antibiotics. But then before those antibiotics reach us, it will be 10 years.
Yeah.
Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, safety, long-term. Now that is something that only humans can do. That is something that can only be tested on humans, on life forms. AI cannot as yet enter that field. Do you feel there are mechanisms going forward 10, 15, 20 years that AI will be able to speed up that or completely obviate the need for having some of those phase clinical trials? Because that's the real rate determining step.
I think it will reduce the steps. For example, earlier whenever you talk about the drug discovery,
or vaccine, let us say.
Or vaccine, what it used to happen, we used to use the animals. But now we replace the animals with cells. Now we can culture the cells in petri dishes, and that's our first way of screening any vaccine or drug. Similarly, let's say if artificial intelligence is telling me how the drug is going to respond when you are injecting to a human. So human has, let's say, thousands of enzymes metabolizing that drug or the vaccine. And now I know what would be the fate of that particular drug when I am orally taking it. So I don't need to do those kind of a very tedious experiment if somebody is assisting me to to tell me that, okay, looking at the chemical structure, maybe that will metabolize to this form and that will interact to this enzyme, and then finally it is going to be this final product in the human body. So in that way, of course, the steps are going to be very much reduced. But the final safety one, let's say if I have crossed the safety 1 level, safety 2 level, safety 3 level, but at the same time, before going for the final use in humans, we need the, maybe that, replacing that final testing in human, मुझे नहीं लगता AI can replace.
Because, I mean, yes, we have praised the AI and the speed with which it is able to solve things, but please let us remember that pre-AI, the amazing AI capability of right now, I'm talking of 2019, 2020, on 12th of January 2020, China published the genome of SARS-CoV-2. On 13th of January, within 24 hours, Moderna had made a vaccine and applied for phase 1 clinical trials without AI. All they did was they took the mRNA of the spike protein, but then from there on it took 8 months of the speeding up of the vaccine acceptance. That is impossible right now because that was an emergency, but what I mean to say is that the rate determining step still remains testing the product non-AI or AI, and you believe it's still time before you are able to shorten that time period. That's very interesting. We have, I think, 7-8 minutes for questions, so please feel free to, you have a mic too. The organizers are not allowed to ask questions. They will be paying an honorarium to
This is from a biology enthusiast, an amateur biology enthusiast. You talked about spurious data, you talked about spiking research. But what if I design my question in such a way that I say that it is only from papers that are peer reviewed and verified?
Right.
Then can I clean out that deformation in my search? Because that is worrying. I know that we can clean out for Sardesai type articles. We can say remove this bias, come to this. But can we say that?
I answer this?
Yeah, draw only from research.
If a scientist has used AI to mess out with the data, let's say if I just created a very wrong data by using this kind of, it's really scary, Alo. For example, whatever the parameters we see as a scientist, it can be manipulated in whatever way we can't even think. And then you are publishing, giving whatever proofs you can give. And once it is in the biggest journal, good impact factor journal, your database cannot just ignore that. So it would be very, very tough.
And can I just add to that, you see, it's just one aspect of the dangers to science. We have General Dua out here. The real danger of spiking with spurious data is in defense. You already have, and I can name the country, I was circumspect in naming that, China. It's already spiking a lot of defense related data that is being mined by AI. So the real dangers going forward are that,
Anand, I have a question for you. As a teacher, I know that as a scientist, your scientific brain likes AI, but as a teacher, I strongly discourage my students from using AI. And I'm just going to take 2 minutes.
Please.
I find it encourages them to be lazy.
Okay.
Now, when you say that AI is the future, it's going to take over the jobs of, I'm not just going into science because that's not my preview, but my job, for instance, as a journalist or as a writer, and AI is doing that, it is encouraging students not to think for themselves.
Yes.
They're just, and I can now tell. Just today in the morning, I had a class and I could tell where his own thing ended. And what do you say about that? It's terrible for humanity, is it not?
Okay, now I need to answer this. This is the most beautiful end game, end result that humanity could wish for. That humans go back to being lazy. In fact, I got into a lot of controversy about 2 months ago at a forum in JNU. I said there should be no exams. all the faculties hated me, but the students loved me. They almost hoisted me on their shoulders and, took me along as a trophy. I said, ultimately, what are you testing? You're testing the skill of a human being to come up with an answer. What if that human says, I've got a device with me, ultimately what you want is an answer. I'm giving you an answer. For example, now that we have calculators, should we go back to log tables? It's the same. Everyone has a friend, Grok, ChatGTP, Perplexity. If your aim is asking me, let me test your skills in designing a bridge or coming up with a new drug, and I ask AI for that, you should be concerned with the answer. So I'm grappling with this issue right now. I'm sorry, I disagree with you so vehemently, and students love me for this. There should be absolutely no exams whatsoever. This is the most equal society you're going to bring. Merit will be destroyed. People talk about merit, reservations. AI is there to help you. AI was developed by humanity. Many of you are thinking this guy has gone completely mad. But here is one aspect of it. Think about this. Ultimately, you should be concerned with the answer, the response. Not who has given you that response, whether a human has given you or a human has been assisted with that response.
Okay, that was a very interesting discussion, both of you. I, as a medical professional, will... as a medical professional, I would just like to ask one question. Taking the case of the MRSA,
yes,
a trial needs to be done for the patient before you can administer the drug to the patient, right? So where does AI come in? Because there are a lot of issues here which are involved, the ethical issues, the reactions of the patient, and we're talking about individualized treatment. So where does AI fit in?
Yeah. Shailja?
Yeah, so the validation, of course,
Yeah.
those steps are still not been replaced by AI platforms. So once you have identified the compound, as just now Anand also pointed out, let's say we made the mRNA vaccine, but real testing took 8 months, right? Phase 1, phase 2. So that's what, maybe we have identified the drug, but that drug is going to be used or not validated by cellular level, pathogen level, then human level. So it will take time. Yes.
And 90% of the drugs that work in the lab do not work in real life, as you know.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir, I am a under-trainee social worker in Masters Pondicherry University. So when you talk about AI, so sometimes like when I go to my field work, I just see like people are suffering a lot with their mental issues because they lack the human connections now. Whatever they find, they are not able to talk among themselves. So when we tell about when AI is taking our job, I feel like from a social worker perspective, AI cannot replicate the empathy which we need in the society. So for that, from a very social worker perspective, I would say from my point of view that AI... So sir, what do you think about like AI being influenced by the social work as a profession, sir?
Yeah, but it's a very interesting question, and it's the kind of question that people asked 60, 70 years ago, which Turing began by asking, that there is no way that a computer giving an answer and a human giving an answer, and you would be confused as to who has given the answer. You would always be able to make out who has written it. I can't now. I really can't. So likewise, I know it's difficult, but there will come a time in the future when physicality of a human being would be replicated to such an extent with the intelligence, AI intelligence, that you won't be able to make out the difference between who's the real female and the artificial one, and you might end up marrying an artificial robotic female. That is what... No, that was just in jest. Yeah, sure. Oh dear. The bell hasn't tolled yet, so you can...
Yeah, I'm a technical person. about this data spiking and poisoning that you mentioned. You know, there are already techniques like spectral signatures, static analysis, and different correlation techniques which are already detecting a lot of poisoning. The only thing
is there a lot of spiking of the data you find?
No. The one that is difficult to detect is what is called a low rate triggerless poisoning.
Okay.
Which is so, and it's because it's very difficult to detect. But the industry is already working on this technique, and if we create lot of scenarios of such data poisoning, we can train the AI tools, and the RAG will take care to detect even those in future. Right. I think. So actually I am a chip designer, and we do AI to design AI chips, to design further AI, to design AI chips, and it goes on. I think the same kind of value cycle will help to solve the data poisoning problem also in future.
No doubt. And okay, she's saying you can ask the question but it won't be answered. Is that what you're saying? No, but you know, this is a constant battle. And you know, earlier such battles were interspersed by long instances of peace, let us put it that way. So you, for example, you developed a drug against a bacterial infection, and it would be 5 years before the bacteria develop resistance to it, and then you were again forced to go back to the lab and develop another drug, and then bacteria would develop resistance to that, like MTB. You know, there are 12 first line drugs against which MTB has a resistance against. The danger comes when your adversary is the human being, you know, because the human being is able to not just quote unquote think like a bacteria does, in the sense that through accumulating mutations creating resistance, but think of, as you said, using AI to kill AI or other devious means. So I think this cycle of beating the demon is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. So, but this battle is going to be there. I mean, General Dua might illuminate more, us more on that. When you have enemy nations fighting each other, this is exactly the kind of thing that they want, a battle scenario where you spike up what the other nation might use for. So, you know. You didn't ring the bell, absolutely. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Parthiv Das. I am from the school. I study in the Future Foundation School, Calcutta. Recently, I heard the news that a 70,000-year-old wolf has been brought back.
Yes.
In this environment.
10,000, yeah.
By DNA cloning.
Yes.
So I have a question regarding that. There are many animals like that, like for example the saber-toothed tiger, the woolly mammoth, and there are innumerous animals and even animals from the Premium era. So I have just one question.
Sure.
Can the animals be brought back in the end by taking sample DNA from other animals, or by cloning?
Could you repeat the question? Can the animals be
brought back to this environment, the current environment, as in 2025?
They have. I mean, the wolf was brought back. I mean, yes, the wolf that wolf became extinct 10,000 years ago.
But sir, the wolf was only 70,000 years old. I'm talking about an animal which is million years old.
Yes, I mean, absolutely, it's possible.
Many people think that
if the DNA is intact, then I don't see an issue with that. There are a lot of ethical issues with that. I mean, should we bring back, for example, dinosaurs? I mean, you had the movie Jurassic Park basically was based on that. So there are huge ethical and moral issues, safety issues as well. But scientifically, absolutely, it's possible. No doubt about it. Yeah. Thank you so much. But before the bell, and the bell hasn't tolled, so, you know, because both of us kind of disagreed with the theme of the discussion. I believe scientists are going to lose their jobs. Shailja believes scientists are going to keep their jobs even in the next 5 years. How many, we like to take a vote. How many of you believe that Shailja is right? Okay, majority. But majority is wrong, as Rahul Gandhi says. So.